I gave my sister my wedding dress because she couldn't afford one, but then she married my fiancé in that dress. If you asked me 6 months ago who I love most in this world, I would have said my sister, without hesitation. Not even my fiancé. Not even myself. Her name is Clara, 2 years younger than me, softer in voice, louder in laughter, and always a little lost in life. I'd spent years holding her hand through chaos, through heartbreaks, bad decisions, missed rent payments, broken phones, failed jobs, and the kind of crying that happens at 3 a.m. on bathroom floors. She was fragile, like a porcelain doll someone had dropped one too many times. And I had turned myself into the glue. We grew up in a home full of silence and storms. Our parents were the kind that smiled in public and screamed behind closed doors. I remember shielding her from it, curling around her tiny body when mom and dad fought downstairs like thunder ripping the earth apart. Even as a kid, I felt like her protector. It became instinct. And somewhere along the line, I convinced myself that she needed me to survive. I didn't realize until much later that I needed her just as much to feel useful, needed, loved. By the time I turned 29, life had finally begun to soften around me. I had a stable job in marketing, a small but cozy apartment, and after 3 years of dating, I was engaged to Ryan, the kind of man who remembered coffee orders, rubbed my back when I cried over silly commercials, and never let go of my hand in public. He was warm, grounded, and most of all, patient, especially with Clara. She lived with me at the time, sleeping on my couch while figuring out her next move, which had been the case for 2 years. I didn't charge her rent. I couldn't. I knew she was working part-time at a bakery and barely making enough to buy groceries, let alone pay bills. Whenever Ryan gently hinted about her finding her own place, I always shut it down. She's trying, I'd say. She just needs a little more time. In truth, I was terrified of what would happen if I stopped rescuing her. When Ryan proposed to me on a rainy Sunday afternoon in our favorite cafe, Clara was the first person I called. She screamed through the phone like she was the one getting married. She hugged me so tight that night, whispering, "You deserve this more than anyone. You've always taken care of me. Now someone finally gets to take care of you." Her words melted something in me. I believed her. Planning the wedding became my obsession, or maybe my escape. I poured every spare second into it. Color palettes, flower arrangements, catering menus, seating charts. Ryan helped when he could, but weddings weren't really his thing. Clara, on the other hand, lived for it. She came with me to every dress fitting, helped pick out the venue, even stayed up with me nights before the engagement party, hot gluing ribbons to invitation cards. There were times I looked at her, eyes gleaming as she held up sample bridesmaid dresses, and thought, maybe this is our fresh start. Maybe she'd find her own version of peace through this too. One evening, a week before the wedding, I came home to find Clara sitting in the dark. Her eyes were red, cheeks streaked with tears, and my heart dropped instantly. "What happened?" "I can't afford a wedding dress," she whispered. "You know, just something to keep for the future. I found one I loved at a thrift store, but it's still too much, and I feel so stupid for even wanting one when I don't even have a boyfriend." I don't know why I thought things would get better. I knelt in front of her, pulled her close, and said the thing that felt obvious to me. "Take mine." She looked up, stunned. "What?" "My dress. Take it. After the wedding, it's yours. It's just sitting in a box afterward anyway. What better person to have it than my own sister?" Tears spilled down her face as she clutched me, whispering thank you over and over again. I didn't realize then how symbolic that moment would become. How that one act of generosity, done in love, would be the noose she used to hang my heart. The wedding was called off 3 days later. Ryan disappeared. Literally. I came home from my final dress fitting to find his keys on the kitchen counter, his side of the closet empty, and his phone off. No note. No message. Nothing. At first, I thought something happened. Maybe he was mugged, or in an accident, or something worse. I filed a missing persons report. I called his office, his family, his friends. No one knew anything. Clara stood beside me the whole time, holding me up when my legs gave out. She made me tea, rubbed my shoulders, and told me I'd be okay. She even slept next to me for 2 nights straight, like the old days. Then, just as suddenly as he disappeared, he resurfaced. A week after the wedding that never was, Ryan updated his Facebook profile, not with a message, not with a word, but with a photo. Him, smiling wide, standing on a beach, arm around a woman in white. My wedding dress. I froze. It took my brain several seconds to catch up with what my eyes were seeing. It was Clara. Smiling, radiant, barefoot in the sand. She was wearing my dress. And Ryan was kissing her forehead like he'd found his forever. My scream ripped through the apartment like glass shattering. My hands trembled as I clicked the photo open, praying it was fake, Photoshop, anything but real. But it wasn't fake. It was the final nail in the coffin of everything I had ever believed about love, about loyalty, about family. Clara didn't just betray me. She wore my dress to do it. I stared at the screen, my breath shallow, the room spinning. There she was, Clara. My sister, in my dress. On a beach that wasn't ours. With the man I was supposed to marry. The man who ghosted me. The man who vanished 3 days before we were meant to say our vows. My entire body went cold. Not the kind of cold that comes from fear. This was something else. This was betrayal, freezing every vein, choking my lungs, making the air around me thick and cruel. My knees gave way beneath me, and I collapsed onto the living room floor, the laptop thudding next to me. It couldn't be real. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a styled shoot, a prank, a dream. But then the second photo loaded. Ryan was placing a simple silver band on her finger. Her hand shook, and he was smiling, really smiling, the way he used to smile at me when he tucked hair behind my ear and said I was the best thing that ever happened to him. There were even comments. Stunning couple. Wait, is that the same Ryan from your sister's engagement photos? You look breathtaking, Clara. That dress is to die for. That last one made me want to vomit. Because that dress, the one I spent 6 months saving for, the one that represented every hope I had about a future with Ryan, wasn't just on her body. It was draped in my trust. The front door creaked open. I didn't even realize it was past midnight. Clara walked in carrying a grocery bag, humming softly to herself, still dressed in that oversized hoodie she always wore. She froze when she saw me. I didn't speak. I just turned the laptop screen toward her, showing her the picture. Our eyes locked. And for a split second, I saw it, the flicker of guilt. But then, just as quickly, it vanished. She dropped the bag on the counter. I was going to tell you. I blinked. You were going to tell me? My voice was hoarse, hollow. Tell me what, exactly? That you married my fiancé? That you wore the dress I gave you out of love as a thank you to marry the man who abandoned me without a word? She winced, just barely. It wasn't like that. No? I snapped. Then please, tell me how it was. Clara crossed her arms, her voice defensive now. You and Ryan. You were falling apart anyway. You just didn't want to see it. My mouth dropped open. You've lost your mind. You were so focused on the wedding, on the planning, on the perfect photos, you stopped seeing him. You made him feel like a prop. You're blaming me? I'm saying we connected. Okay? She shouted. It started as friendship. We talked, we vented. He was lonely. I was. Living under my roof, eating my food, wearing my clothes, while sleeping with my fiancé? She flinched again, but didn't look away. You don't understand. No, I don't. Please, help me understand. Did he touch you when I was asleep in the next room? Did you cry to me about being broke, all while you were planning a wedding with my man? He was never really yours, she said softly. And that broke something in me. Silence fell between us. The kind of silence that isn't empty, but heavy, dense with everything unsaid, every shattered piece of a bond that once meant everything. She turned to leave the room. I don't know what came over me, but I followed. Did he propose before or after he left me? She stopped at the door. He left because I asked him to. My stomach lurched. You asked him? I couldn't do it anymore, she whispered. Pretend. Watch you play house with him. He didn't love you like you thought he did. He loved me. He said it. I felt it. You felt it, I repeated, laughing bitterly. Was that before or after I gave you my dress, Clara? Her shoulders stiffened. I didn't ask for your dress. You cried, you manipulated me, like you always have. That's not fair. No, I snapped. What's not fair is giving someone everything you have, your home, your support, your protection, and watching them destroy you with it. You didn't just take my man, Clara. You took my entire life and walked away like it was yours. Her eyes glistened, but she didn't cry. Not this time. I'm sorry you feel that way. And with that, she walked out. The days after were a blur of pain, wine, and unanswered questions. People started messaging me. Some out of concern, some out of morbid curiosity. A few had the audacity to ask if I was okay. Okay? How do you explain to someone that your soul has been hollowed out? I stopped going to work. My boss gave me time off, assuming it was just heartbreak. But this wasn't heartbreak. It was betrayal in its purest form. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. And every time I closed my eyes, I saw that picture, the kiss, the beach, my dress. I deleted social media. I couldn't bear the posts, the comments, the smiling photos of their elopement. The story they were feeding people was that they had fallen in love unexpectedly, that life happens, and sometimes the heart wants what it wants. They painted it as a fairy tale. They made me the villain for being bitter. I wasn't bitter. I was ruined. But something changed after that second week. I woke up one morning and felt still, not numb, not broken, just still. As if all the screaming inside me had quieted down into something colder, quieter, sharper. I looked in the mirror, and for the first time in weeks, I didn't cry. I smiled, because the ache was gone, and in its place was resolve. Clara thought this was over. She thought I'd fade away, disappear, lick my wounds in silence while she played bride on the ashes of my life. But she had forgotten something very important about me. I don't stay broken. I rebuild. And this time, I was going to make sure she regretted ever touching my dress or my life. The first thing I did was pack up every reminder of them. The framed photo of our engagement at the lake. Gone. The half-burnt candle Ryan lit on our last night together. Trashed. The stupid bride-to-be mug Clara gave me with a wink. Smashed into porcelain snowflakes. I boxed up the wedding decorations and drove them to a dumpster 20 miles out. Not because I couldn't have thrown them away closer, but because I wanted them far, far from me. But I didn't cry anymore. I was past that now. What replaced the grief was sharper, cooler, methodical. They thought I'd vanish, disappear into heartbreak while they built their fantasy life. They forgot who I was. I'd spent my life cleaning up Claire's messes, helping her hide from debt collectors, faking her sick days when she got fired, holding her while she sobbed over boys who ghosted her after one date. I had every secret, every lie, every mistake of hers etched in my memory. And Ryan? Well, he was a walking contradiction. All charm and confidence, but weak. So easily swayed. He wasn't built for guilt. And if I gave him the right kind of pressure, he'd crack. But I wasn't going to storm their wedding photos or scream in public. No, that's what they expected from the crazy, jilted ex. I had a different plan. And it started with a name. Derek Lancer. Derek was an IT tech at my office, quiet, awkward, but dangerously brilliant. A few months ago, I helped him edit his resume and coached him for a big interview. He landed the job and never forgot it. So when I showed up at his apartment with a bottle of whiskey and a USB, asking for a very specific kind of digital favor, he didn't hesitate. I'm not asking you to hack anything illegal, I said carefully. Just access public accounts, photos, metadata, locations. You're just retrieving what's already there. Derek smirked. Girl gets screwed over and suddenly wants to turn into Batman. No, I replied, voice steady. Not Batman. Poison Ivy. 3 nights later, he handed me a hard drive. They've been using a shared iCloud folder, he said. Photos, notes, calendar. Your ex-fiance is either an idiot or too in love to care. The drive held everything, their private photos, messages, even itinerary plans. Clara had already changed her last name. She had added Lancer Events to her LinkedIn profile, an event planning company she claimed she started with her husband's support. I laughed out loud. She used to cry filling out job applications. According to the data, they were preparing to pitch their first big client, a luxury resort's winter gala. A massive opportunity. One that would determine whether Lancer Events became a real business or just another failed dream. Perfect. Step 1. I reached out to the resort anonymously, using a fake company name and email. I posed as a former colleague of Clara's. I included screenshots, subtle but damning. Photos of her in bridal wear. From my Pinterest board. A copy of the wedding dress invoice. Captions lifted directly from my own social media. She has a pattern of taking credit for others' work, I wrote. Just a warning before you commit. No threats. No anger. Just doubt. Within 48 hours, the resort postponed a meeting with Clara and Ryan. No explanation. Just circumstances have changed. Clara posted vague quotes about jealousy and haters on her Instagram story. It made me smile. Step 2. Family. I hadn't spoken to my parents since the fallout, but my Aunt Elise, the kind of woman who thrived on gossip and subtle judgment, was always within reach. I met her for coffee, feigning weakness, vulnerability. She lapped it up like a starving cat. I just want them to be happy, I said sweetly. Even if it means watching them live in the house Ryan and I bought together, even if she wears the dress I paid for. I mean, she's my sister, right? And I did pay off her DUI fine last year. The least I can do is wish them well. Aunt Elise gasped, eyes widening. Oh honey, she whispered. I didn't know about the DUI. She did now. And so did half the extended family by that evening. By Sunday, Clara's phone was blowing up. I knew because I still had access to her backup messages. She texted Ryan. Why is everyone acting weird at dinner? Did you say something to Elise? Ryan's response was typical. Babe, you're spiraling. Just let it go. Classic Ryan. Dismissive. Patronizing. Clara never did well with being dismissed. Especially not when her image was on the line. Cracks were forming. And I wasn't done. Step 3. Ryan. I knew his weakness, image. He was obsessed with being seen as the good guy. The nice fiance. The doting husband. So I called in a favor from an old college friend, Rachel, a writer for an online magazine specializing in modern betrayal stories. I pitched my story under a pseudonym, changed the names. Left just enough truth to be recognizable to anyone who knew. The piece went viral. She let her sister live rent-free for 2 years. Then that same sister married her fiance, in her wedding dress. The internet ate it up. The comment sections lit up with rage. How do people like this sleep at night? That man is human garbage. I hope they trip over each other's lies. Clara posted a crying selfie with a caption. You don't know the real story. Please stop sending me hate. Ryan deleted his social media entirely. My work phone rang that night. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. His voice was quiet, shaking. Look, I didn't mean for it to happen like this. It got complicated. You and I were different by the end. Clara she made me feel seen. Please don't ruin her life just to get back at me. I still care about you. I couldn't be what you needed. I replayed the voicemail twice. Then I sent it anonymously to Clara. She didn't post again for 5 days. Then came the final move. I filed a small claims lawsuit. See, the house Ryan and I were going to buy? I'd put in the deposit. From my account. all traceable. Legally, he owed me half, if not more. He hadn't even removed me from the documents. Sloppy. I submitted the paperwork with receipts and made sure to send Clara a courtesy copy. She messaged me at 3 a.m. "You're really going to destroy everything, huh?" I replied, "No, I'm just taking back what was mine." They say revenge doesn't heal. Maybe they're right. But standing in that courtroom 3 weeks later, watching Ryan squirm as the judge ruled in my favor, watching Clara sit stiff beside him in my dress, as if the fabric still remembered who it truly belonged to, I felt something close to peace. But this story isn't over yet. Because there's still one thing I haven't told Clara. Something I discovered just a few days ago, buried in her emails. In a folder she forgot to delete. Something that will change everything. I found the email by accident. Derek had sent me a backup of everything Clara had connected to her old Gmail, notes, invoices, even an unlinked Dropbox folder she'd apparently forgotten about. I was skimming, half distracted, when one file name caught my eye. Prenatal report, Spring 22. PDF. At first, I thought it must have been an insurance document. Clara had always been bad at filing things. But when I opened it, my breath stopped. It wasn't old. It was dated just 6 months before my wedding was supposed to happen. The name on the form, Clara Monroe. Clinic, Coastal Women's Health. Estimated due date, October 1st. Which meant she was pregnant while she lived in my apartment, while she cried to me about not affording a dress, while I held her hand through emotional breakdowns. And the most disturbing part, the father section was left blank. I stared at it for hours. Like if I just kept looking, the truth would blink differently. But deep down, I already knew. She hadn't just stolen my fiance. She had been pregnant with his child long before he walked out of our life and into hers. The beach wedding, the sudden elopement, the frantic posting online. It wasn't about love. It was about covering up shame before the truth caught up. This wasn't just betrayal. This was an invasion of my home, my life, my body, my future. She let me plan my dream wedding while carrying his baby under my roof. And now? Now they built a business, curated a social media perfect marriage, pretending to be some rags to riches power couple, inspiring followers with captions like, "You never know where life will take you." Sometimes, the wrong road leads to the right love. Sickening. I sat in silence that night. No rage, no tears, just strategy. If she wanted to play dress up with my old life, I'd make sure she couldn't walk in those shoes for long. And this time, the world wouldn't just turn against her. She'd do it to herself. Step 1. The Mom Forums. You'd be shocked how much real moms hate dishonesty. I created an anonymous Reddit account and posted in a popular parenting group. My sister got pregnant by my fiance while living with me. Now she's using our wedding to brand her business. Should I expose her or move on? The thread exploded. Thousands of comments. Hundreds of reposts. Other women shared similar stories. Several guessed the real identity, and they were right. One mommy blogger with a modest following posted a TikTok breakdown, comparing Clara's post from spring 2022 to her elopement date, calling out the inconsistencies in timing and asking, was this love or guilt? It hit 200K views in a day. By the end of the week, Clara's Instagram went private. The Lancer Events account stopped posting. Step 2. Legal pressure. I contacted a family law firm and asked what it would take to file a claim for emotional distress and financial fraud. Considering I had evidence of Ryan financially benefiting from our joint savings, and Clara knowingly allowing me to fund wedding prep while she was already involved with him. The lawyer smiled when he saw the paper trail. "I've seen worse," he said, "but rarely this clean. Do you want justice or destruction?" I didn't answer. He nodded. "Both then." Meanwhile, I launched a new Instagram account. Not under my name, but as a bridal consultant. Every day, I posted tips on protecting your wedding budget, spotting red flags in relationships, and how to recover when your dream wedding becomes a nightmare. I never named them directly. I didn't have to. They were watching. Ryan sent another voicemail, his voice low, anxious. Look, whatever you're doing, stop. Please. Clara's not doing well. She's freaking out. The business is tanking. Just move on. I'm sorry, okay? What do you want from me? I wanted the truth. So I texted him one sentence. Did you know she was pregnant before you left me? He didn't reply. Not for 48 hours. Then, I didn't know until after. And a minute later, I didn't plan this. I swear. I loved you. But I felt trapped. She offered a way out. That line. She offered a way out. As if I were the prison. As if I was the problem for expecting loyalty, commitment, and basic human decency. I screenshot the messages. Saved them in a file titled, Closure. I wasn't done. Step 3. Public humiliation. I sent a package to Clara. Inside, a printed photo of her walking barefoot on that beach in my dress. With my bouquet. Attached was a handwritten note in soft, elegant script. You may have worn the dress, Clara, but it never belonged to you. No threats. No name. Just a mirror. Let her see what she became. Weeks passed. The whispers around Clara and Ryan grew louder. Lancer Events shut down their website. Their client list vanished. Her phone number changed. But the best part? I wasn't even touching them anymore. They were unraveling on their own. Because the one thing I always knew, and she never realized, was this. Clara needs to be loved, adored, worshipped. She can't live in silence, can't live in guilt. And when her world stops clapping, she starts screaming. From a friend still lurking in her circle, I found out Ryan had moved out temporarily. Just a break, he claimed. But we both knew what that meant. I smiled. Because now the silence she left me in, was all hers. But I had one last card to play. At an upcoming charity gala, the same one she tried to book months earlier, I managed to get invited as a +1 to the resort's CEO. He didn't know the details. Just that I used to be in events and had a story worth hearing. So I arrived, dressed in deep red, not white. Never again. I waited. And finally, Clara entered. Alone. She froze when she saw me. Her face, pale. She mouthed my name like a ghost had returned. I didn't approach. I didn't speak. I just raised my glass from across the room. She looked around. No one came to her. No compliments. No congratulations. Just the hum of people moving past her like she was furniture. In that moment, she looked smaller than I'd ever seen her. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel the need to save her. The moment Clara saw me at the gala, that flicker of panic in her eyes should have been enough. It should have been the end. The final silent victory in a long, painful war. But some truths don't just end stories. They split them open. 2 nights later, I received an email. No subject line. No signature. Just an attachment. Voicemail under Clara deleted, WAV. It was from an encrypted email address. No name. I played it. Ryan's voice. Clara, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep lying. You said it'd be easier if she hated us, but now I don't even know who you are. You told me it was an accident, the pregnancy, that you weren't even sure it was mine. That's the only reason I left her, Clara. You said it wasn't mine. But now, I'm starting to think you knew the truth all along. Silence. Then a second voice. Clara's. Muffled, furious, whispering like she thought no one would ever hear. If I told you it was yours, you would have stayed with her out of guilt. I did what I had to do to get you away from her. I earned you, Ryan. I deserved a life too. Click. The message ended. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. The truth hit like cold water. Ryan didn't leave me out of love for Clara. He left me out of guilt. And Clara. She lied about the baby to manipulate him. to trap him. But it got worse. Because when I checked the metadata of the voicemail, it hadn't been recorded last year. It was new. Just a few days old. Which meant someone had recently recorded Clara and sent it to me. And I had a very strong suspicion who. I waited 2 days before doing anything. Then I sent an anonymous message back to the sender. Why now? A reply came minutes later. Because I didn't know how bad it really was. She lied to both of us. I'm not trying to make peace. But you deserve to hear her say it. I recognized the writing style instantly. Ryan, not redemption, not forgiveness, just guilt, raw and festering. I didn't reply. Instead, I picked up my phone and called my lawyer. I want full custody rights, I said. He paused. Custody? Yes, I said, voice steady. Ryan's name isn't on the birth certificate. Clara's been lying about paternity. If I can prove she kept the father from his child for selfish reasons, I want her investigated for parental fraud. And Ryan. I want him to face consequences too. The lawyer sighed. That's possible. But it's messy and expensive. I smiled, cold and calm. I'm not asking for easy. I'm asking for war. But as I was preparing my next legal move, something unexpected happened. Clara disappeared. No public announcement. No farewell post. Just gone. Her apartment? Empty. Her business? Dissolved. Social media? Deleted. I called a few people in the loop, pretending to be concerned. They all gave me the same answer. She left town. Just needed to get away. A week later, Ryan showed up at my door. Hair disheveled, eyes sunken, hands shaking. He didn't say hello. He just stood there in the hallway, empty. I think she left the baby with her mom, he muttered. She didn't even tell me. Just packed up and vanished. I didn't speak. She blocked me on everything. She didn't leave a note, nothing. Just gone. Again, I stayed silent. I'm not asking for anything, he said. I know what I did. I don't expect you to forgive me. But that little boy, he deserves better than this. I folded my arms. So what are you here for? A second chance? He shook his head, almost laughing. No, I came to give you this. He handed me a letter. Handwritten. Clara's handwriting. I recognized the slant instantly. It wasn't long. You win. I hope you're happy. I thought stealing your dress would make me feel powerful. But all it did was turn me into someone I hate. I don't want this life anymore. Keep whatever you want. The business, the reputation, even the truth. I'm done playing her. I hope he realizes I was always second best. I read it twice. Then folded it slowly. Where is the baby now? I asked. With her mother, he said. But she can't raise him. She's sick. I don't know what to do. You're his father, I said. Ryan nodded. But you're not the only one who knows how to raise a child when no one else will. He looked up. What are you saying? I walked into the next room, grabbed a piece of paper and handed it to him. It was the custody agreement already drawn up. You want to fix things? I said. Start by giving him a real home. Not with me, but with someone who won't lie. Someone who won't wear someone else's life like a costume. He looked like he might cry. I'll sign it. Months passed. Clara never returned. I heard whispers. She moved abroad, changed her name, started over. Ryan kept his word. Got therapy. Stayed away. Focused on being a father. And me? I found peace. Not in revenge. Not in watching them fall. But in reclaiming what was mine, dignity, freedom, truth. The wedding dress stayed in a sealed box. Not out of grief, but as a reminder. That love, when twisted, can become poison. But so can guilt. And eventually, they both eat the people who created them. As for Clara, wherever she is, I hope she finally understands. Wearing someone else's dress doesn't make the story yours. Because that dress wasn't magic. I was.